Welcome to our lesson on how to improve a presentation. It's very important that you review your presentation before presenting it to an audience. And luckily for us, the software packages have a few tools that we can use to ensure that we review our presentation properly. Arguably, the most important thing when it comes to a presentation is to ensure that you don't have any spelling errors on your slides. Let's have a look at our current slide. Here we've got cooking class, green tea ice cream. And what we're going to do here is we're going to run a spell check. The shortcut key on your keyboard is F7, or alternatively, you can select Review and then select Spelling. Before you do this though, make sure that your language setting is correct. If you have selected English US, then it might not pick up mistakes like color with an OR versus color with an OU, for instance. So let's just have a look at our language settings quickly. And let's have a look at our preferences here. Right, so we do have English SA, but you'll see that English US has been set as the default. So I'm going to select English South Africa, and I'm going to set that as my default. And then I'm going to select OK. Right, at this point, you can run your spell check. So I'm going to select Spelling. It picked up an error on our first slide with the word green. It will give you some options or recommendations, such as green with 2 E's, or perhaps grown tea ice cream. Obviously, we're going to select green, and then we're going to select change to correct that mistake. Just note that the second word here, tea, is also misspelt. That's like a golf tee. So just be aware of the fact that although the words might be spelled correctly, it might not actually have the correct meaning. So I'm going to change that as well. And that's why it's important that you find someone to review your presentation for you, because we often become blind to our own mistakes. So find a friend, ask them to check your presentation before you present it to a larger audience. Right, the next thing we're going to look at is how to improve our presentation by changing the layout of our slides. That's why it's so important to find someone else to proofread or to review your presentation before you present it to an audience, because we do tend to become blind to our own mistakes. Another way of improving your presentation is by making changes to your page layout. To do this, go to your Design tab, and here you'll find your page setup options. I'm going to select Page Setup. And here you can even select what your slide should be sized for. So for instance, if you know the aspect ratio of the projector or screen that you're going to use, you could select the correct option here. You can also change the orientation of your slides to portrait if you wanted to. And a really nice feature is that you can change the orientation of the handouts or printouts that you'll make, because often that reads easier in portrait format. When you work with your placeholder, you are able to also set internal margins inside your placeholder. Right, to do this, you're going to click on your placeholder, then select the Format tab from your drawing tools. And at this point, you're going to go to the text box settings. And you're going to do this by selecting the shape styles and by opening up the dialog box over here. Right, you'll find the text box settings right at the end over here. And here's where you would find the internal margin settings. I'm just going to move this over so that you can see the effect of this. Right, so I'm going to change my top internal margin. Can you see how the text moves down? And you can also change the bottom and the left and right margin settings inside of the actual placeholder. Another way of improving your presentation is by inserting what we call headers and footers. This is something that will appear at the top of every slide or at the bottom of every slide. To do this, you're going to select your Insert tab, and then you're going to find your header and footer command. That will open up a dialog box. Here you can select to add the date and time, or you could select to insert slide numbers. That's always useful. And if you wanted a footer, you can select the footer, and you can perhaps type in your name, so that will appear at the bottom of every single slide. You can also choose not to show this information on the title slide. That's always a good idea, as you don't really want headers and footers on your title slide. So I'm going to select Don't Show on Title Slide. On the same screen, you can set your headers and footers for your notes and handouts. And that's done in exactly the same way as with your slides. I'm going to apply these headings or these settings to all my slides now. And if I go to the second slide, here at the bottom, you'll see the name appear, and you'll also see the slide number appear. To add a new slide to your presentation, you can select Home, and then select New Slide. You can click on the drop down and you can select what type of slide you would like to insert as well. I'm going to select Title and Contents. And once again, to delete it, you could just click on it and press Delete on your keyboard. Let's now go to OpenOffice Impress. Just going to jump over to that. To run spell check, you can use the Tools menu. It's the first option on your Tools menu, and it's very similar to the one in Office 2010. Here it shows your text language, so I'm going to select English South Africa, and then we've misspelled green again, so I'm going to change that to the correct spelling of green. To insert header and footers, you're going to select the Insert tab, and then you're going to insert or select page number. This will open up the header and footer dialog box. And as you can see, once again, it's very similar to what we used in Office. So you can opt to add the date, perhaps a footer. I definitely want to add a slide number, and I don't want to show all of this on the first slide. Going to apply that to all my slides. And that concludes our lesson on how to improve your PowerPoint presentation.